Jim Harris, and I teach electrical engineering and applied physics at Stanford, and I have been there since 1960. And I'll hopefully have some time at the end that you could ask questions if you want, but I've had some of the things I thought about in speaking to high school students, that you're really, in the process of embarking on probably making one of the first real decisions on your own, certainly with some help from your parents, but that really do affect the rest of your life. And sort of reflecting on my life, I was, I think, a sophomore in high school, and I was raised in a really small town. I didn't know hardly anybody that had really gone to college. My father hadn't gone to high school. Well, he went through his second year, and then because of the Depression had to go to work. So it just turned out that this little town was where Herbert Hoover was raised. And so he came back for a dedication of his parents, and something just struck me that I got to shake his hands, and I was kind of awestruck by all this. And he talked about his time at Stanford, and I don't know, for some reason I got this crazy idea that maybe I can go to Stanford, and so I fortunately did, and it just happened, this was just sort of the start of the revolution in electronics. The transistor had just been invented shortly before that. And so one of the things that, kind of related to what has happened, I think every one of the students that I went to high school with is retired, and probably 85% of my college classmates are retired. Last October I had my 50th college reunion. And so in reflecting on, why is it that I'm still working? I certainly don't need to, but I wake up on Monday mornings thinking, it's great to go and see what my students have done over the weekend. I still teach large classes. So I think it's really important to find something you love to do. And I tell students when I'm advising them, you want to find a profession, and I would say also other things that you do. I love to ski, and I ride my bike. I ride my bike past here every day. In fact, I did this morning, about 8 o'clock this morning. I ride from the campus to Los Altos. So I ride my bike about 100 miles every week. And so it's really important, in my view, is to find something that, as I say, makes your heart sing, that you really love to do. And life has its ups and downs, and I think just, it was with your friend Harry, that if you don't have something you really look forward to and that you love to do, and it can be work, it can be people that you know, it's really important to find something that you really look forward to doing, because life isn't always great, and it helps you pass the kind of tough spots. And for me, it's been professionally really exciting to be in the midst of this world, of electronics and lasers and optics and things that have really changed the world. And so I like this: success is not the key to happiness, but happiness is your key to success. And I would say a corollary to that is good health. I do a lot. I'm 72 years old, and I still do a lot to stay in good physical shape. I skied 12 days in a row over Christmas holiday with my granddaughters. And so good health, sometimes as they shit happens. Sometimes you get cancer and some things that you can't do much about, but certainly I think it's important, and your brain always works better when your body isn't complaining. I've had both hips replaced, and I know when I was in pain for the hips before I had them replaced, it was hard to just keep going. And so when your body isn't feeling good, so my advice is, you can't always have good luck, but some of it is bad luck can happen, but that you want to do the best you can to really keep your body in good shape, because it does make a difference. And I like this one, that 20 years from now you will be more likely by the things you didn't do than the things that you did. So throw off the bow line, sail away, and catch the trade winds in your sails and dream and explore. And you really are, most of you are probably juniors or seniors, and you're looking at college, and so you've got really a period of about 5 or 6 years where you really don't have many other responsibilities to family, to society, that, you know, it's important for your education, but also to find something you really love to do. And so I regularly tell students, just don't get so wound up in, you know, taking engineering classes and things on your career, but explore more broadly. And I really am very thankful that I did go to Stanford. I could have really been a complete geek, I think, but I was forced to take some fine arts classes and things, and so I took an art class and a music class, and for the last 40 years or so we have season tickets to both the San Francisco Symphony and the opera, and so music I found is something I really love, just like my bicycling or skiing, and it's something I really look forward to. So you never know where you may find something. In that case, it wasn't entirely a choice. I had to do something that was in the sort of fine arts area, and so I decided to take music and discovered, wow, this is really, really cool. And so it's been a lifelong avocation and something that I love to do. And finally, that minds are like parachutes. They only work when they're open. And so that's, you know, you want to take this time. You're just at a period in your life when you can really explore. And I tell students all the time, you know, your parents do have some wisdom. My son didn't think I had anything to offer. I was a complete idiot when he was 16 and 17 before he went off to college. But 5 or 6 years later, he decided, actually, Dad did have some good ideas, and he subsequently went on to get a PhD in pathology, and so sometimes you think, well, you know, the acorn doesn't fall so far from the oak tree that, you know, the things that I represented when he was in high school that he didn't like were things as he got older and could look at them and said, actually, what Dad does isn't so bad after all. So you've got a chance to really explore and find things, and what I tell students is, you know, you may decide something that looks exciting to you. I've had a few parents even come to see me and say, why didn't you tell my son or daughter that they could go do this? And they may disagree with what you're doing, but you know, they don't have to live with the consequences of that decision. You're the one that's going to live with the consequences of choosing what you do for the next 50 years of your life. And so it may be something related to what they do, and it may not. So it's important to really take this opportunity to explore. So related to what I do, in science, there's, in the field of observation, chance only favors the minds of which have been prepared, and I would say that has played itself over and over and over and over again in my career. That there were things that, as I describe it, you know, there's just a flock of birds going across the sky, and there was one of them that looked good, and I grabbed it, and it, you know, totally changed my life in some way. And I would say one of those was when Herbert Hoover came, and somehow I was just kind of awestruck by that, and you know, it changed my life in the sense that I did come to Stanford. It was just, this is the center of the universe as far as electronics is concerned, and I kind of got started in that, and it's been a great career for me. But there were a few other events like that, and so I think I never would have seen that if I just hadn't had the right background, and similarly later in my career, the education that I got at Stanford and the connections with people that I made during that time. Another is that discovery consists of seeing what others see, but thinking what nobody else has thought before. And I would say that a similar kind of thing. I've experienced numerous times being at conferences and things, and I can remember once just explaining something to a student in a class that I've taught probably 20 times, and suddenly it just occurred to me that there was something different that we were doing on solar cells, and that I couldn't believe nobody had, people had been working on solar cells for 50 years. And I came rushing back to my office, got a hold of one of my graduate students and said, Janssen, simulate this. Am I crazy? Why, is this true, or is nobody just thought of it the right way? And about 2 hours later he comes back and says, Coach, this is absolutely right. And about a year later we demonstrated that, and it's improved the efficiency of solar cells. So those are the kind of things that I think if you're doing something that you love, that you just have a lot of enthusiasm about, and it's infectious. It affects this, my students and colleagues and things, and so if it's really something you love, that there's just a level of enthusiasm that. And another is, do not go where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail. I play a lot of sports. I remember an expression by Wayne Gretzky, probably one of the best hockey players ever, says, I never ski to where the puck is. I skate to where I think it's going to be. And when you do that, there are going to be sometimes when things didn't work quite the way you wanted. And it's easy then to think, oh, I failed. But I'm really an optimist. I tend to always look at it and say, well, nobody knew that before. So I found out some new information. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I hoped for. But it was new information, and it leads, sometimes it's like going through a maze, and sometimes you hit a dead end. And so, again, if you have this real passion for what you do, you just say, well, all right, that wasn't quite the right path, and you get back on another one and hope that one is better. But when you're exploring, there will be some times when things didn't work out the way you wanted. And finally, I always say, look to the future and new possibilities, not returning to the past. And I think Silicon Valley is just a microcosm of that. And I remember 2 or 3 times when there have been different cycles. And, the Boston area also, with Harvard and MIT, has a lot of smart people. But when things have gone wrong, they tend to look back and think, what went wrong and how do we fix it? How do we go back when things were great, the good old days? Around here, there's just a huge number of people that just say, well, it was a good game. We really enjoyed it while we were playing it, but that game's over. So what do we look for the next new game? Don't think about how to go back to where we were winning in the old game, because it just isn't going to repeat. And human nature is such that to always kind of think of going backwards and the good old days. And here you're fortunately in a microcosm of people of sort of like mind, that there's just new companies, new things sprouting up all the time. So I've had the good fortune to be here. I came to Stanford when I was 18 in 1960, and it's been an incredible journey for me. And so the last one is a slide that I got from a colleague that I think reflects. Megan says, so what do you think is the future? So I had the good fortune to be right here at the very, very, very beginning of the the technology revolution, just shortly after the transistor radio. And so there's a lot of things talking about nanostructures and things, and I think if I were in your shoes today, I would move towards biology. Certainly I guess I suggested that to my son, and that's what he does. He has, but I think I do a lot of work with people in the medical school today, and I think physics, everybody that I collaborate there with, even if they're clinicians, had their bachelor's degree in either physics or chemistry. Quite interesting, none of them in biology. And by far the vast majority of physicians have their undergraduate studies in biology. But I think, so certainly if you want to heal people, if you want to be a practicing physician, that certainly, we need lots of those people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to pursue the forefront that we're able to look at, and I'm doing a lot of work on sensors and things, to be able to look at what's going on in cancer and look at and relate it to the genome and how environmental things cause the expression of genes. And there's a big study that's just come out from Stanford now on twins, where they're comparing identical and fraternal twins. And it just turns out that as far as your immune system is concerned, environmental things have way, way, way more impact than your genetic heritage. And so we're just at the very forefront of trying to discover that. And so I think the last century was really dominated by electronics. It started, with, you could say, the electrification, just motors and being able to generate electricity, and the economic engine that provided, and releasing people from having to do so much work physically with their bodies to using machines more in the Industrial Revolution. And then the second half of the century by, all the things in the information world. But I think this century is going to be discovery and dominated by our understanding of biology. So if I was a high school senior, I think that's what I would do. But with my experience I think having a real fundamental background in chemistry and physics, if that's what you want to do, and look at the understanding and basic how we behave, and we're going to, the Internet of Things, you're going to be wearing things that will be able, and things can, whatever your illness is, can be continuously monitored, and we're going to really understand things at the molecular level. And I think that's just happening with the genome, and to me, it's an exciting, if I were starting again, that's where I would look. So, with that, I'd be happy to answer a few questions here. I guess we still have 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah?
What's the coolest thing you worked on over the years in Stanford?
The coolest thing? I guess early on in my career, I did a lot of work on a transistor that was, nobody knew what to do with it, but there's 2 of those in every cell phone today. So there's several things, and sometimes that I worked on 35 years ago. So it didn't seem so cool, so wildly cool, but some of the things that I've done also on the biosensors are, maybe part of the excitement is because I hadn't had a biology class or done anything about biology since I was a sophomore, and the genome hadn't even, DNA was just discovered shortly after that. So some of the things there are really remarkable to me. So I do a lot of reading and things on what's happening in biology, and like this twin study, and thinking, well, genetics aren't playing the dominant role there. Certainly genetics plays a dominant role in some parts of your body and your health. Yeah, sure.
What's the significance of the QGT convergence you have
Oh,
there?
so that actually was from the Tuan Bodin who made this slide, and so it's just the emergence of quantum genetics and technology. So this nano, that you wouldn't guess that, I mean, he put nano, but it really, a lot of this is happening not just because quantum mechanics plays a big role. When you get down to atomic dimensions, Newton doesn't explain what happens. And so we needed a new theory that explained that. But it really, and I think nanostructures, I've been making nanostructures since in the mid-1970s. I just none of us that were working on it had the brains to think, you know, if we get a buzzword for it, we can call it nano, but we've been making things that small for almost 40 years. But I think while it's certainly had a significant impact, and in fact, every time you use your cell telephone or talk on, it connects to optical communications, which use quantum well lasers. So every one of you uses quantum mechanically based structures every single day. You just probably weren't aware of that maybe until now. But I believe while it's certainly had a significant impact on technology, that the greatest impact of that's going to be on customization and being able to do things in biology and medicine, because you can get things that then can penetrate the cells and you can target things, and so there's going to be a lot of exciting things that occur. So the buzzer rang. All right. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it.
Gunn 高中留学生活摄制队，立足硅谷，聚焦我们身边的人和事，最鲜活地反映在美国的学习与生活现状。敬请关注、订阅、转发，锁定我们，获取第一手鲜活的留学资讯。